Hey, this is Sammy. Today's topic is based on deep research about my topic. Here are 8 signs your relationship isn't working, what you'll be able to undertake to settle it, and how to know for beyond any doubt when it's time to toss within the towel and break up. 1. You're continuously battling. Genuine conversation. All couples battle from time to time. Strife isn't inalienably terrible. In reality, a add up to non-appearance of strife often points to more profound issues: evasion, inauthenticity, fear in a relationship. When a handful battles deliberately and profitably, they tend to reach at way better results, and keep the channel of communication open within the future. That's how a sound relationship works. But in case you discover yourself always battling together with your accomplice, at that point that's nearly certainly a red hail. Clashes that drag on for months, contentions that go around in circles, battles that do not lead to more compassion, closeness, or way better arrangements. These are all signs that something is in a general sense broken within the relationship. Another ruddy hail is when the battling you lock in is particularly horrendous or ill-bred. Solid struggle suggests a pattern respect for the other person's sentiments and points of view. This sort of enlightened fighting doesn't expect it to harm, but to get it. Broken conflict, on the other hand, tends to criticize or reduce the other individual. Or, as is frequently the case, to project unpleasant sentiments onto them, such as outrage or disgrace. In the event that your contentions tend to be approximately the same issue over and over, that's another sign that something's off. That signals that the fundamental issue isn't being tended to, which the couple is merely reenacting the same strife over and over without investigating the root causes, changing their behavior, or returning to their suspicions. Anything the particulars, steady battling is one of the key signs that a relationship is in trouble. What you can do. In the event that you're battling all the time, particularly in the event that you're battling almost the same issues over and over, at that point the leading thing you'll be able to do is discover another way of communicating together with your accomplice. Plan a few time to conversation one-on-one. Take turns sharing your encounter of the struggle. Tune into each other, attempt to appreciate the other person's point of view, confine the core of the issue at hand. Burrow more profound into the fundamental topics, convictions, and sentiments driving the conflict. Try to remain open to another way of looking at the issue, whereas also staying genuine to your encounter. In case that demonstrates troublesome to do on your own, at that point it may well be supportive to start couples treatment. A counselor can act as an objective go-between, offer assistance. Partners listen to and get at each other better, and help them clarify and resolve basic dynamics in the relationship. They can also offer assistance. Some learn how to contend more productively, which could be a significant toolkit in any relationship. Eventually, in a range to resolve a strife, one or both parties have to be willing to process troublesome sentiments, unload ancient layouts, and alter unhelpful behaviors. On the off chance that they can't or basically do not need to, at that point it might be time to consider whether this is in reality the right relationship. When to break up. On the off chance that you contribute important time and vitality into settling and progressing strife without any advance, at that point it's conceivable that the relationship basically isn't right. Another sign that it's time to break up is in the event that your contentions heighten to physical or passionate mishandle. On the off chance that an accomplice strikes you, controls you, manipulates you, gaslights you, or otherwise treats you in an impartially pernicious way, it's time to put a few distance between you and the other individual. At that point, the battling isn't indeed remotely productive, it's tipped over into something much more harming, and the individual actuation the manhandle has work to do on their possess separated from the relationship. Plus, staying around in an injurious circumstance can be unsafe. At last, if your fights are not driving to way better results, a stronger association, way better communication, greater peace, at that point that's likely a sign that it's time to portion ways. 2. There's no intimacy. The soul of extraordinary sentimental connections is closeness, passionate, mental, and, of course, physical. When that crave for physical closeness dwindles, that's regularly a sign that the relationship is in trouble. Of course, all relationships go through cycles and stages. The special first night period doesn't final until the end of time. Work stretch and family commitments can get within the way. Major life occasions such as melancholy, misfortune, or major moves can hinder your sex life or put a damper on charisma. So can age, well-being, and mood. These are all normal ebbs and flows in a sentimental relationship. But when one or both accomplices lose their want for each other, that's a noteworthy challenge, and regularly a sign that something is lost in the relationship. On the off chance that there's now not any chemistry between you and your accomplice, the thought of sleeping together turns you off, or you're avoiding sex totally, at that point that's a sign that something's wrong. Can a sentimental relationship survive without physical closeness? Of course it can. There are numerous models for hint connections. Each couple has distinctive needs, interests, and expectations. A great sex life does not an incredible relationship make, not on its claim, besides. And numerous couples base their relationship on other shapes of affection or different values, such as enthusiastic bolster or shared objectives. As long as both parties are fulfilled with the terms, there might be nothing off base with an organization like that. But when one accomplice has neglected needs, or both accomplices are totally uninterested in each other sexually, that ordinarily proposes that something's off, which is certainly worth investigating. What you'll do. If you're in a relationship like this, your best wagered is to acknowledge the truth and communicate along with your partner openly about it. Try to get it in the event that the need of desire is mutual or one-sided. Recognize the deterrents to crave and closeness. Most imperatively, attempt to urge to the root of the issue which challenges, logistical, emotional, physical, are getting within the way of your sex life. In the event that you and your accomplice are essentially as well active with other obligations, it can be supportive to carve out a few time for each other. I know not the sexiest approach, but regularly a supportive way to create association a priority. Consider setting a date within the calendar each week and staying to it. You can moreover make an effort to be more loving in your everyday life. An unforeseen kiss, a perky touch, or an unconstrained experience can make your accomplice feel wanted and acknowledged. A solid sex life is imperative in and of itself. But it's regularly a reflection of other viewpoints of the relationship. Now and then you would like to work on those viewpoints, your enthusiastic connection outside of the room or an uncertain struggle in another department, in order to induce things back on track physically. When to break up. In case an insufficient sex life has become a consistent source of strife for you, or in the event that your accomplice doesn't want to examine the issue or make any changes, it might be time to consider ending the relationship. Whereas sex isn't the foremost crucial thing in a long-term relationship, it is an critical expression of adore and closeness. When that desire goes away, it can be difficult for the relationship to support its intimacy, strength, and force. Not inconceivable, fair troublesome. Of course, if one partner can't have sex for anything reason, then it might not be fair or fitting to end the relationship on that premise alone. It would clearly be crazy to instantly conclusion a great relationship since one accomplice is battling postpartum, has gone through physical or passionate injury, is going through an age-related move, or is battling with other issues. But that's where communication gets to be significant once more. Both parties need to induce clear on what they owe each other, what they can and cannot live without, and what's informing the lack of intimacy. And they have to be willing to separately address any factors that are contributing to the issue at hand. All of which is to say that sex isn't the be-all and conclusion all of a relationship. But it could be a powerful component of most romantic relationships. As long as one or both partners expect a certain level of closeness, a disillusioning sex life seem be a deal breaker. 3. Belief has taken a hit. Intimacy in a relationship moreover depends on belief. In the event that you cannot fully depend on an accomplice, on the off chance that you do not have certainty in their feelings and actions, the relationship will continuously be on rocky ground. Of course, distinctive couples have different needs when it comes to belief. and diverse accomplices require to believe each other completely different ways. There's passionate belief, being able to depend on somebody, not feeling judged or surrendered, and not stressing that they'll carry on with other individuals. There's calculated and financial trust, believing that an accomplice will do what they say they will, follow through on commitments, and act capably. There's physical belief, feeling safe with the other person, not feeling debilitated or controlled in any way. And, of course, there's the baseline trust that you and your accomplice share the same sentiments, values, and goals. When any of these shapes of belief break down, so does the relationship. Without that stick, a relationship loses its establishment. What you can do. Belief takes time and exertion to build. Once broken, it takes even more time and exertion to reproduce. As with most challenges, communication is key. Both partners have to be able to conversation transparently almost why the belief in their relationship has taken a hit. They ought to recognize the behavior that led to the breakdown and make a veritable commitment to changing their behavior in the future, whether it's maintaining a strategic distance from the things that compromised the trust, or reacting to that behavior in a more supportive way. Most importantly, they need to really do things in an unexpected way within the future. When it comes to rebuilding trust, words will only go so far. Action, choices, a track record, that's what modifies trust. Oftentimes you'll need to start with little steps. Point to construct believe incrementally by keeping your word on small guarantees, simply being there once you say you'll be there, for example, and after that working back up to major commitments. Couples counseling is additionally greatly accommodating here. With a therapist, a couple can dissect the behaviors and considerations contributing to the need of belief, discover another way of relating to each other, and get clear on their expectations within the future. Typically especially profitable after a major betrayal, such as having an affair, when a couple needs to do profound work to repair the relationship. When to break up. If the belief in a relationship has been broken in a few principal way, then it might spell the conclusion of the relationship. Each couple has distinctive values and edges for strife, of course. But a few acts, treachery, trickery, carelessness, manhandle, tend to spell the conclusion of a relationship. A few shapes of belief essentially can't, and likely shouldn't, be revamped. In general, it's helpful to consider a few key questions. Did one or both parties contribute to the breakdown of belief? Who's primarily responsible? Is the responsible party willing and able to do the work of understanding their behavior, fixing it, and appearing up as a different partner in the future? How likely is it that the dependable party will harm the trust again? Is there something in the relationship worth saving/fighting for? Is there a reasonable path to rebuilding trust, or is it in a general sense and permanently broken? Replying those questions truly will help you decide whether it's time to portion ways. But connections are complicated, and there are many factors at play. On the off chance that you're in question, it may well be worth giving couples counseling a genuine shot. Sometimes having that space to conversation things out is what gives you the clarity you need to conclusion the relationship. For envy is getting the superior of you. All human creatures encounter envy, and its dubious cousin, envy, from time to time. To be in a sentimental relationship is regularly to feel furiously defensive of your accomplice, and to need to feel secure in your eliteness. But when those sentiments of suitable defense and restrictiveness tip over into uncertainty, doubt, and control, they gotten to be harmful. That's when envy can contaminate a relationship. At that point the relationship is not a secure satisfaction of each other's company, but a frantic endeavor, unmistakably or secretively, to keep the other individual from taking off. Envy is incuriously wonder, since it's both an issue in and of itself and an indication of other issues. For case, somebody might ended up envious when they feel that they can now not believe their accomplice, or they have less contact with them than they utilized to. Which can at that point lead to unproductive fighting, which harms the relationship advance. What you'll be able to. Settling envy requires open communication, honest to goodness belief, and progressing self-work. A desirous accomplice should get at the roots of their complicated sentiments. Is the envy an anticipated fear that the other individual will take off? Is it a way to control or control them? Is it fueled by sentiments of insufficiency or suspicion? Are there prior formats and designs, maybe with an conflicting parent, that are illuminating the way you are feeling around your accomplice? The envious party at that point should examine those sentiments, get at their roots, and examine how they're driving these broken considerations and behaviors. The conclusion objective would be to rework any unhelpful designs and discharge any inaccurate convictions approximately what the other individual is up to. The finest put to do this, astonish, shock, is in-person treatment. A prepared proficient can assist you sort through all of these developmental encounters and connections. At the same time, a desirous individual ought to get clear on whether their accomplice is giving them a reason to feel desirous. Are they covering up connections with other individuals? Not communicating transparently or reliably? Bolstering their insecurity in other ways? In numerous cases, it's the exchange between two partners' issues that drives envy. Each relationship is diverse, of course, but it's worth looking at both sides of the condition. Negative feelings like envy can be overpowering. But eventually, on the off chance that you employ them the correct way, they can really advise way better choices and lead to more noteworthy victory and fulfillment. When to break up. A jealous accomplice ought to consider breaking up with somebody in case they discover that the other individual is really fueling their envy in out-of-line ways and isn't willing to at least consider their behavior. An individual who's with an envious accomplice ought to consider finishing the relationship in case that accomplice isn't willing to get at the roots of that envy and work on it. It's affirmed to be seized by negative feelings from time to time, we all are. It's not okay to venture them onto your accomplice, or to deny to require care of your side of the road. In case one or both parties aren't willing to examine the envy and find healthier ways of relating to each other, at that point there likely isn't much opportunity for development. Of course, if a desirous accomplice locks in inequitably abusing or perilous behavior, snooping through your phone, stalking you, controlling you, or harming you physically or candidly, at that point it's nearly certainly time to end things. Remove yourself from the poisonous circumstance. In those circumstances, envy is fair the tip of the ice sheet. Could you please subscribe and like for YouTube algorithm promote my video to others? Thanks. Let's proceed. 5. You do not spend much time together. This sign of a disturbed relationship might seem so self-evident as to be pointless, but it's worth calling out. In the event that you and your accomplice aren't investing important, reliable, high-quality time together, at that point the relationship is likely struggling. Or the need of quality time is causing the relationship to battle its input circle. What does spending quality time together really cruel? Well, that depends on the couple. But in common, quality time includes having significant, vital discussions. Having fun together, chuckling, playing, exploring, trying modern things. Making encounters together, trips, objectives, occasions, achievements. Being physically touching, snuggling, having sex. Investing time as a handful with other high-quality people. Once more, each couple is diverse. And not all exercises outline to the same encounters. One couple can have a super important discussion whereas strolling the canine around the square, whereas another couple seem climb Machu Picchu without trading a single significant word. The what is less important than the how and the who. But on the off chance that you discover yourself sharing less and less time along with your accomplice or straight up dodging contact, that's usually a ruddy hail. What you'll do? To begin with, inquire yourself why you're not investing as much time together. Are you active, distracted, or checked out? Or do you basically not need to spend time along with your accomplice any longer? In the event that it's the last mentioned, at that point the relationship is probably coming to a near, but we'll get to that in a minute. On the off chance that it's the former, at that point you have a few choices. On a calculated level, commit to investing time together. Pick one day a week to be date night, and do not cancel it for anything less than an emergency. Effectively look for out modern encounters together, whether it's doing a end of the week trip to a diverse city, taking a cooking course together, or learning a modern dialect together. On a more profound level, investigate the reasons that driven you to spend less time together, so you can make beyond any doubt the design doesn't proceed. Is it absolutely a logistical challenge? Or are you really maintaining a strategic distance from time together with your accomplice? In case so, what's driving you absent, or causing you to drive the other individual absent? Is contact bringing up troublesome considerations and sentiments that you'd or maybe avoid? Or have your sentiments almost the other individual changed? And how are you investing that time apart from your partner, and vice versa? Are you contributing it in important objectives or exercises, leveling up in your career, working on yourself, etc., or are you essentially whiling absent the time as you maintain a strategic distance from an extreme conversation? As with any troublesome involvement, it's critical to burrow into the underlying causes. That'll give you the data you would like to either course correct or come to terms with the state of the relationship. When to break up. This sign generally points to one thing. In the event that you basically do not appreciate investing time with your accomplice, your objectives or needs have changed, or you're more fascinated by other individuals, particularly other potential sentimental accomplices, at that point the relationship is likely coming to an end. You can't have a fruitful relationship with somebody you do not enjoy being around, full stop. 6. Your emotional needs aren't being met. When your accomplice isn't satisfying your emotional needs for closeness, trustworthiness, cherish, bolster, security, warmth, and so on, that can lead to loneliness or hatred, which are harm to any relationship. Of course, that doesn't rule that all enthusiastic needs must be met inside one sentimental relationship. Friends and family also fulfill an vital work there, and able to certainly have our needs met by distinctive individuals. But when a sentimental accomplice doesn't fulfill certain key enthusiastic needs, or indeed attempt, that's as a rule a sign that something's not working. Now, it might not be fitting for an individual to cater to each enthusiastic require their accomplice has at every minute of the day. That can effectively tip over into passionate caretaking. But in the event that they don't play a sound part within the other person's enthusiastic life, the relationship will likely begin to feel empty, baffling, and inauthentic. Once those sentiments crawl in, that's ordinarily a sign that the relationship needs work or is essentially not working. What you'll be able to do. Once more, communication is the key here. Conversation to your accomplice, almost your needs, how they're going neglected, and why they're so critical. Offer assistance them discover ways to meet those needs, in healthy and fitting ways, of course. At the same time, work along with your accomplice to get at why those needs have been hard for them to meet. Are they hazy? Confusing? Overwhelming? Out of line? What needs in your accomplice do those needs stir up? What avoids them from being there for you in that way? Then ask them around their needs. Are there ways you may be an improved accomplice as well? Have you both been lost each other totally different ways? How can you each gotten to be more generous, available partners to each other? In common, it's worth giving your accomplice a reasonable opportunity to understand your viewpoint and make changes, sometime recently giving up on the relationship. It's moreover conceivable that you'll got to see inside to resolve your disappointment on the off chance that, for case, you realize that you're anticipating as well much of your accomplice, you're looking to your accomplice to require on passionate work that isn't theirs, or you're not communicating your needs clearly sufficient. When to break up. If these discussions assist you and your accomplice ended up more sincerely accessible and adjusted, at that point the relationship could very well survive and get more grounded. But if these conversations demonstrate that your accomplice can't or won't be more accessible to you, or that you just can't be there for them, at that point they'll likely spell the conclusion of the relationship. On the off chance that there's a noteworthy bungle in values around these emotional needs, at that point it might be time to portion ways. Eventually, in the event that you've got a more subjective feeling of unresolved needs, depression, distance, pity, disappointment, shame, that's nearly certainly a sign that you're not in the right relationship. Or, as is regularly the case, that you just haven't done the work on yourself to truly get at those needs and discover the correct accomplice for you. 7. You're considering cheating, or you as of now have. Obviously, cheating in a monogamous relationship is a genuine ruddy hail. It focuses to genuine issues within the cheating party or in the relationship, and it makes extra brokenness and conflict. Presently, look. Fantasizing is a perfectly ordinary movement, and if it stays on the level of thought, it's ordinarily guiltless. It's not like all cheerful couples never have passing contemplations approximately other individuals. But having persistent thoughts about cheating, feeling enticed to deceive routinely, wishing you were in another relationship, that's when these fantasies start to end up risky. Or maybe, they uncover issues in your own state of mind or in your relationship. But the same guideline goes for any exercises that drop on the cheating spectrum, putting yourself in circumstances where infidelity may take place, being a tease or creating intrigue with other individuals, locks in light or emotional cheating, or carrying on with people virtually. So if you're feeling drawn to other individuals, or you've already had intuitive exterior of your monogamous relationship, then it's time to take a step back and consider whether your relationship is genuinely working. What you can do. Cheating may be a complicated phenomenon. It can talk to themes in the cheating person's brain research, challenges with their accomplice, needs that are broken or are going neglected, or problems in the relationship overall. It would be impossible to address each variable at work in treachery here. Every individual and each relationship is different. In common, in spite of the fact that, the primary step is to come to terms with your behavior. Acknowledge that you are engaging with people outside of the bounds of your relationship, and recognize that that is problematic and unjustifiable. Ready to all concur, individual ethics and contemplations aside, that cheating tends to make brokenness no matter what, indeed when no one finds out. Then get inquisitive about what this pattern uncovers around you, your needs, your relationship, your accomplice. What's driving you to cheat? Which needs are you trying to fulfill, or run away from? Why are you in this relationship within the first place? In the event that you require, offer assistance doing that, and most people do, then take these questions into treatment. Struggling with infidelity is an fabulous opportunity to start working with a professional. There's a lot of significant domain to investigate in this circumstance, and you'll likely discover an awesome bargain of development and understanding, in expansion to clarity almost your relationship. At long last, when the time is right, the leading thing you'll do is conversation to your accomplice. Once more, the objectives of this discussion will vary from couple to couple. So will the results. You might choose to possess up to the cheating along with your accomplice, apologize, and inquire for a chance to work on the relationship. Otherwise, you might fess up to the cheating with no desire of proceeding the relationship. That's up to you. Once more, an advisor would be hugely supportive in arranging and handling this discussion. On the off chance that you're decided to work on your relationship, and your accomplice is willing to, of course, at that point you'll need to investigate all the accessible assets, treatment, books, back groups, programs, and so on. And you'll ought to truly lock in communication, self-reflection, and a significant alter in behavior. You'll too have to be refocus a awesome bargain of consideration on your accomplice. Get clear with yourself on why you're with them, why this can be the relationship you need, and how you arrange to appear up in an unexpected way. In case you still have the drive to deceive, you'll ought to learn how to distinguish those sentiments, oversee them, and divert them into your relationship. Finally, it's worth recognizing that cheating might cruel merely are basically not within the right relationship. Either you ought to be single, so simply can decently date other individuals, which is perfectly fine, or you and your accomplice might consider changing the terms of your relationship on the off chance that that would donate both of you the adaptability you need. but that requires a ton of communication, trustworthiness, and understanding from both parties. And moving to another show, such as an open relationship, won't naturally settle any fundamental issues between you and your accomplice. When to break up. In case you're consistently cheating on your monogamous accomplice, or locks in behavior on that range, and you're not making any progress towards settling it at that point, it's likely time to conclusion the relationship. Staying around isn't reasonable to your accomplice, and it's probably not bringing you closer to the understanding and development you wish. Take a few time apart, get a few clarity, and figure out what was driving the drive to deceive. In the event that you discover merely do need to be along with your accomplice but have an issue, at that point you know it's time to do some work. That could be work you'll need to do on your own before you're prepared to grant the relationship another try. In case you discover that you're cheating essentially since you do not need to be along with your accomplice any longer, at that point that's a great reason to break up as well. It's fair time to move on, and to save you and your accomplice a ton of stretch and anguish. At last, it's time to break up on the off chance that your accomplice learns approximately you're cheating and isn't willing or able to work on the relationship with you. Recognize their feelings. Respect their wishes. Don't battle to remain together on the off chance that the other individual needs time separated. Yes, couples can work through treachery whereas they stay together, and numerous do. But both parties have to want that for it to be fruitful. This brings us to the ultimate ruddy hail in connections. 8. There's no plausibility of alter. All connections require development to outlive. In case both parties are willing to advance in reaction to modern challenges and openings over time, a relationship can advance with them and proceed to thrive. But if one or both parties do not need to change or are evolving in very different bearings, at that point the relationship will ordinarily waver. Of course, there are circumstances where one accomplice needs to change while the other doesn't, for example, when one individual is routinely cheating or wrestling with unwarranted sentiments of envy. And in some cases both accomplices are fine as they are, but they're basically not the correct coordinate. So it's not the case that changing may be an ensured arrangement to each issue in a relationship. But in the event that the individuals included aren't indeed willing to consider another way of reacting when issues arise, then fixing the relationship will be troublesome, in the event that not outlandish. What you'll be able to do. In the event that you're managing with an accomplice who can't or won't alter, at that point your best bet is to donate your accomplice the back they require to change in fitting ways. Make it secure for them to consider another way of doing things. Enable them to take steps toward tending to their behavior. Offer assistance them see which changes would make the relationship more fruitful overall. Meaningful change takes time. You might have to give the other person weeks or months to create a solid change. In case you're the accomplice who can't or won't change, at that point it's time to do a few contemplation. Why aren't you able to change your behavior? Which thoughts, feelings, or concepts are standing in your way? Do you are feeling strongly enough almost your accomplice to need to form the alter within the to begin with place? In the event that you choose that you are doing need to alter, at that point it's time, once more, to communicate together with your accomplice. Ask them for help and insight. Share your objectives and staying focuses. Look for the bolster you'd give them in the event that they required help changing. Either way, if you or your accomplice completely deny to change within the relevant ways and you've given the relationship a few chances over an fitting period of time, then you've got a choice to create. Either you acknowledge your accomplice for who they are and remain together, which suggests making peace with the parts of them you can't alter, which is now and then the best choice, particularly when the alter you were hoping for is moderately minor. Or you choose that this isn't the accomplice for you. When to break up. If an accomplice won't alter in ways that would best serve the relationship, which is distinctive from ways that would best serve you, then you likely have a good reason to break up. But that requires you to have an awfully clear understanding of which changes are really important to you. For example, you might wish your accomplice were more organized, and discover that their mess drives you up the wall. But that may well be a quality you'll learn to acknowledge, in the event that their other positive qualities mattered more to you. Confronting your partner's untidy work area each morning is clearly lower stakes than confronting messy relationships with their exes. Of course, certain behaviors are objectively problematic and absolutely need to alter for the relationship to operate well. In the event that a partner denies to halt mishandling you, controlling you, putting themselves at hazard, engaging in perilous or criminal behavior, or cheating on you with other individuals, at that point those are great reasons to take off. There are certain non-negotiables in a solid relationship for case, your physical security, your emotional prosperity, and a sense of trust and honesty. If the relationship has turned toxic and you or your accomplice are totally unwilling to change, indeed after fair dialogues and proficient counseling, it's time to get out. In case you're interested in learning more almost successful relationships, we welcome you to peruse more about when to cut a harmful person out of your life, how to say no after you've already said yes, and how to oversee difficult emotions, such as envy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to get videos like this.